A little intro because we are definitely experiencing and all going through and sharing a part of some very interesting times right now. This is COVID-19 in 2020. I haven't had an event in months, and I've actually had like weird feelings about it because I miss being around people. I miss being communal. I miss networking. And I feel like I haven't been myself in a long time. So to be able to do this is amazing. The fact that you guys came out, that's amazing. And the topic that we have for tonight, I think is timely. And the reason why is because everyone has been home thinking, trying to see, okay, what else can I do with all of this free time? And I cannot tell you how much people are inspired by entrepreneurial journeys. They're inspired by people who have taken life by the, by the horn and pursuing their own dreams, pursuing the visions that come into their head. And really and truly, I feel like this is the perfect time to talk about what we want to talk about because a lot of people should be working on the visions that they have and actually how to monetize that because we don't know if we're going to go back to the same structure that we had before, right? And now we have so much time. So I want to introduce two people that I think are so perfect to talk about this right now. And the reason why is because they epitomize what personal branding is about. They naturally had to do so much networking to get where they are today. And obviously, they're entrepreneurs. So without further ado, we introduce firstly, Kat Torres. Yeah. And over here we have Lauren Cambell.
Hey.
Yes. Yeah. So these two are like I said, they epitomize this topic. Kat is like, I'm in awe sometimes when I look at all the things that she's done. She's a female that has broken through a lot of barriers when it comes into the entertainment industry. She hosts numerous shows, right? Numerous events, talk show host. And actually, what's cool is you're breaking into a new realm of digital radio as a talk show host, and I think that that's amazing. So if you've never heard, she has Box Power Sounds, and right now the newest thing that she's doing is she actually is doing a digital radio station with that platform, and I think it's awesome. So we'll talk about that. We'll also talk about some of the past things that you've done, the how, the why, what was hard, what was interesting about it. I think people need to learn from you.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Thank you. Lauren, same boat, but different aspect. So what I have is I think I have the perfect mix because Kat is like who Lauren would work with. Lauren is a publicist. She works with major brands for actually connecting them with the right people to get their marketing strategy, their content strategy successfully executed. So a person like Kat is somebody who she would work with to actually get something done. So I think that this trade-off, this conversation, this discussion is going to be great. And she's been working in the industry for a long time, and cross brands, cross industry. You're working with people who are musicians. You're working with people who are creatives. You're working with manufacturers and retailers. So that's awesome. And I think that you have a lot to also share with everyone.
Hopefully.
Say hopefully. So, before we start, I know that this might be new for you guys. You're in a barbershop.
Yes.
What's the first thing that comes to your mind when you think, okay, I'm going to go talk to people in a barbershop?
I thought it was cool because I saw Obama do it recently. I'm not sure if you guys took that in.
I saw that.
But it's cool because what they do in barbershops essentially is constantly talk during the haircuts and all that stuff. I'm not in there to hear what's going on, but I'm sure that it's a lot of like relevant topics, current affairs, things like that. So it makes sense. There's a lot of talking going on in the shop, I'm sure. So it makes sense.
It's not like a salon, but yeah, we talk.
I agree.
Salon's probably 10 times more talking. But
Yeah, for sure.
They talk about people.
Yeah, a salon is more gossip. I feel like maybe a barbershop is like free game, you know?
Yeah. Well, this is a safe space. It's not like I'm not. If two clients that know each other come in the same day, I'm technically not allowed to tell the second client that I saw your buddy today. That's how much the barber client, disclosure is. It's tight.
You guys have NDAs?
We do have NDAs. It's called I will mess your lineup up, and for him, it's called I will never come back to you. So, yeah, we got NDAs. It's just implicit, very implicit. So you had the same kind of feeling? You just be able to spill your tea?
Yeah, I feel like it's a comfortable
Yeah.
place. I feel like it's a place where you can chit chat and it's a safe zone, and people are there to listen, people are there to take from.
Right.
Well, I'm glad you guys came. This is my first talk actually having two females. And, for me, I felt like females pretty much have the same struggles with a little plus on top of it. And that plus is not usually talked about. So this is also good. We get to really, really hear what are the nuances for that female and entrepreneur, right? Like, are there nuances? Is it different? Because in my mind, and somebody can hang me for that, I don't care. If a female can do something well, successfully, then a man should also be able to look at that and see some of the same things if it was done under the proper light. So the fact that we have two females here, I feel like everybody should be able to learn, whether you're a guy or girl.
Absolutely.
So I just want to set that premise that we right now have a well-balanced talk because we got both now.
For sure.
So my first question, and I actually want you guys to talk to each other a bit, but I'm going to alley-hoop something up for you guys. My first question is, what do you guys actually think an entrepreneur is? Starting with, who wants to start that?
I can start. I think that being an entrepreneur is about kind of creating your own opportunities. It's seeing possibly things that you wanted done between the jobs. I mean, myself, I've worked in 3 different industries, all that collide into one aspect. And I feel like creating your own opportunity, creating a path that really drives you and your own passion is something that's going to lead you to entrepreneurship. And I think it's like figuring out that niche of what you truly want to offer and picking from your experience of how you're going to offer that.
Absolutely.
What about you?
I would say entrepreneurship, it takes a lot of risk, right? A hell of a lot of risk, and you aim for that reward at the end. But you're going to go through a lot of obstacles, a lot of failures, losses, but you just got to keep pushing because you are working for yourself, you're representing yourself, you're staffing other people, you're creating opportunities for other people. So a lot is leading, like you're a leader as an entrepreneur. Sorry.
Very key words that you're saying, and the key words I picked up that actually lead from our first talk, our first and second talk to this one is, one, personal. I got personal from you. You're actually pushing your own personal things. I got leader from you, and I got risk from you.
Right.
If I were to pull 3 keywords out, it'll literally be that for an entrepreneur. Because an entrepreneur, to me, is going over, like trying to execute almost like personal visions. It is a vision that comes to you, right?
Yeah.
Like
Starts with an idea.
Absolutely.
And then you execute.
Our first talk was purpose, vision, and career. How does your purpose and the visions you have for your purpose lead to a career? The next thing is risk.
Yes.
We talked about digestible risk and financial growth. So the fact that you said risk is like, ta-da, right? And leadership, right? Like,
it's what it takes. You have to set an example for the people that you are creating opportunities for and staffing, because as a business, you're going to have to expand and grow and build a team and hire people and all that stuff. So you have to really set the tone, set the standard, and make sure that you're leading the people that are working with you and for you constantly.
It's really important.
Do you think there's a difference between an entrepreneur and a boss?
I think they're both.
Like, yo, you're a boss, right? What is?
I feel like they're both
get hired
leaders.
as a boss without being an entrepreneur.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you could take that position, get hired by the founder, the owner, and be that boss. But really and truly, the entrepreneur at the top is the boss, the big boss.
They're the ones with the vision. They're the ones that everyone underneath them needs to believe in, because without your team believing in you and your vision won't ever be created.
Yeah, and they're the ones delegating, right?
Yeah.
So
So
there is a difference.
Yeah.
There is.
Ultimately, an entrepreneur is a boss.
I taking that too.
Yeah.
Putting that in my pocket.
Yeah.
You gotta talk to me nicely from now on. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So the whole girl boss thing, because you know, like I've seen some on the internet where people are trying to debunk girl boss, right? It's like, no, there should be no girl boss. It's just boss. That I stick with. But a lot of people also will think, you know, a boss and an entrepreneur is the same thing, and I think one will lead into the other.
They feed off each other and bounce off. Like, that name, I think, can definitely be in the same sentence.
So let's get into some of you guys' actual experiences that put you guys in this forefront. I think I want to start with you, Lauren, and the reason being is to me, you're the background person to a lot of influencers and big brands. How did you get into that space to be working with these companies, these brands, these artists as a publicist, and all that you do?
I started off as an intern. You do a lot of free work before.
Intern for who? I want to know.
For Rocket Promotions.
Rocket.
Yes.
Okay.
So at Rocket, it's a great internship program. The job description of an intern there really wasn't much different than the coordinator. You get, full-on experience working with brands like Adidas, Fiji Water, Tommy Hilfiger, down to, TIFF, Toronto Fashion Week, across to Atlantis hotels in Dubai. So you really get that full corporate experience of what it is like to be a publicist and to guide the ship of these big brands. And I think once I got my feet wet there, I wanted to keep learning. That led me to Shine Influencers, where now I'm on the other side, managing the influencers that are partnering with these brands to push the brand forward ultimately, in a mutual beneficial partnership, of course. And then I went into the music industry. I got offered a job. Great industry, exciting industry. I worked for an artist that was signed to Epic Records. We packaged up his brand and figured out how can we attach you to your audience to grow your fan base. And that was something that I truly love to do. And when I came back home to Toronto, thanks to COVID, I decided, how can I package this up and create a company to really steer the ship of these true creatives that stand for something and people that need a brand behind them, and attaching with the community also. I think that those true creatives in your community are really important for big brands.
Are we talking about Carmen right now? Your baby?
Yes. Yeah.
All right, don't shadow over it. What is this company that you created since you've been back?
Can I say I'm glad you came back to Toronto? Because we needed you.
Yes, this never would have happened. I don't think that I would have been back in Toronto had COVID not allowed me to have to stay here, pretty much. So
where did you go?
I was in Los Angeles.
Okay.
Yeah. So I had taken the big leap of faith and ended up back here figuring out, okay, let me start something with all my experience and the network that I've created.
Were you sad about that, having to have to come back? Was that like a negative thing that you turned into a good thing, or was it always positive?
It was definitely a negative that turned into a positive. I'm a huge believer in seeing the positive in every negative. Believing that whatever you're going through at that time is meant for that time, and trying to find the silver lining in it. And I think that that's how I birthed Common.
That's super important.
Amazing.
Like I don't even care to tell people that I've been fired, evicted,
lights off, Roger's calling.
Man, the list is long to the point now where I see mail and it may say urgent, and I'm like, yeah, to you. I'll do that later. So like I'm used to it, right? And
But look where we are now. Like that's a whole representation of your resilience. It's
That
crazy.
growth is
Perception.
something to
Yeah.
be proud of.
And it's perception. Somebody
Yeah.
doesn't get what they want, and they perceive that the world is against them.
For sure.
They perceive that they won't be able to achieve what they want just because their plans are a little screwed up. So outlook is important. I'm glad that you actually were able to flip that outlook, because what you have now, and I think you're talking about,
Yeah.
I just didn't want you to overshadow that. What you have now is amazing, because
Yeah.
when she told me what it's about, it was a no-brainer. I'm like, that is awesome. That is what we need. So you can continue to tell them what you told me.
So I started Common. I really believe in the true creative of the community. I believe in the upcoming artists in the city. I believe in the actors who are hitting their pinnacles of their careers that are going unnoticed almost by the community that they were born and raised in, just because they may have moved away. I believe in the creatives in this community. They're really pushing the needle and making a difference. And I think that brands need to attach to that, because working in the branding world, yeah, you have headquarters, you have global, but ultimately they also have their own offices in Toronto, in Los Angeles, in Vancouver. And I think that attaching nationally is something that brands need to focus on.
So this
Absolutely.
is a Canadian thing. And we have our famous Canadian right here.
Exactly.
That's pretty cool. So the reason why I definitely felt like you were good for the talk was because as an entrepreneur, you have to have a brand, and it starts with a brand for yourself, because you are what you're pushing. You are the entrepreneur. So technically, you're the business in a sense.
Right.
You can create a separate label for yourself, like this imaginary, but it's you. It's all you, right?
Yeah.
So branding yourself for a person like you to even notice that you exist, to connect you with certain brands, that is interesting. And I want to know from you now, because we're going to tie this all together, and then I think this conversation is just going to have a full autonomy between you two. For you, like, you have a personal brand, right? Did you plan to become Cat, or did this organically come to be and your brand is organic as hell?
Get at Cat, my personal brand, I've literally just been me. It's all authentic. The way I represent myself on social media, it's literally my style, how I want to look, what I want to put out there, my personal life and all that stuff. It's all just me. I actually separate my personal brand from my business, Box Power, because I want that to kind of be more like on the merch side, like really taken in as a business.
100%.
I don't know what's going on with my throat, but
You
I'm
need
trying
that
to clear
wall.
that.
You need the wall.
Listen, I've been trying to clear my throat from earlier. So yeah, it's all organic to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's interesting, because and it also correlates to me too. When I started Six City, it was Six City Barber. Let me start with that. It was called Six City Barber, and the name switched so much time, and I wanted a name that was actually not like you pointing to me. You know, like I did not want Nate's Barbershop. I didn't want Johnson's Cuts.
Yes.
I didn't want none of that, right? So I literally was like, all right, what is the name that is good for branding that I can still kind of rep? That's pretty cool. I'm from the Bahamas. I'm not from here. So being able to be here and kind of say, okay, what is a brand that I could create that makes sense, that's still close to home, it doesn't seem too stretchy, whatever. That's how I came up with Six City Barber. And I won't lie, I piggyback off of the whole Drake wave at the time. The whole six thing, I piggybacked. I just didn't like spelling six with the I and the X. I said, fuck that. I don't like that. So Six City Barber came. Yeah, right? That's just like,
666.
and it looks so dumb. I was seeing the hats with the 6 and the shirts with the 6. I was like, okay, this is getting ghetto and redundant. I'm not putting that as my brand name. But can I please just have the 6? I think everyone's allowed to have a number. So
Yes.
I stole the 6 and I put city because there was a city, and And pretty much it was supposed to be a communal. The 6 in the city is supposed to actually wrap the two together. Again, but I call it 6 City Barber. It was pointing to me. After about 2 years of the business actually making profit, making a name, I actually added shop to the end of it. And then I created another Instagram for myself. How does personal branding like allow you to do that? Like, how did you then say, okay, because you moved from Cat to now Box Power Sounds, and has that transition over been smooth?
Yeah, I've literally just been blowing up Box Power and hashtagging Box Power and adding Box Power to everything that I do. So they know that it's a separate entity. However, Box Power has a whole different like representation. It's about female empowerment. It's not just a brand, it's a movement.
Okay.
But it's about women supporting one another.
Amazing.
Because, you know, we see a lot of men that have their cliques and their gangs and their gang. And then once you drop a single, they drop a single and
It's
the whole
everywhere.
clique is putting it all out there. But I've seen such a lack of like activity like that for women. So this stemmed from like way back in 2013, where I wanted to create a movement for women. I had a female DJ, and back then I was doing music. So it's like I wanted women to get together, support one another. And that's essentially how it started off. But separating myself from it, it's like, it's important because now that I'm putting out merch and that type of stuff, I'm not expecting people to rock Get at Cat and that type of stuff, right? I want them to rock Box Power. I want them to rock something that they're representing.
Absolutely.
So I wanted to make sure that I made that separation. I made it very clear by letting it be known. I post a lot. I post a lot of my stories. I engage so much with my followers like crazy. So
Amazing.
It has been really easy because I made it very clear and apparent what's what.
You branding yourself was actually able to catapult something else. So at the end of the day, you having a personal brand still was important to catapulting everything else that came from Cat.
Right.
Okay,
we need more women like her, you know? gang for the women.
Exactly.
Facts though, just don't be going around here strapped and stuff.
But I do have to say that a lot of men, they've seen some of the Box Power things and the gear that I've been putting out.
Yeah.
They're like, I need that in red and black. And like, you know,
It's not a very female-y brand when you think about the name. It's a very generic, everyone should be able to like it type of name,
exactly.
right?
Unisex.
unisex.
Would you rock this hat? Because this is Box Power.
I'd rock that hat.
You know, would you rock it? Exactly.
that hat.
So I try to go with the unisex route. However, the meaning behind it, the representation behind it is really like for women to support one another and get together, you know?
And we do. Yeah. We really need a lot more like female empowerment in this city. I think like regardless of what industry you're in, the music industry, the influencer industry, the clothing industry, I find that, you know, all women need to support themselves and support others and get together.
I agree. Because I scroll through Instagram and it's almost like you see the movement pushing itself. Like I see it.
I'm seeing a lot more of it. That's for sure.
Right.
A lot more of it, and I love it. I'm not mad.
If you were looking for someone to work on a brand with, what would you be looking for?
It would depend on what the brand is.
Now we're talking personal branding. So actually, okay, not what you'd be looking for. What would you be looking at?
I'll be looking at their Instagram. I know this is something you were shocked by. Like, why is it such the pinnacle or like the hub of what people go back to? But regardless if you're going to send someone your SoundCloud link or a link to your website or a link to your clothing shop, or you're going to apply to a job, the first thing that person is doing is creeping your Instagram. How do you represent yourself?
Absolutely.
Because how you represent yourself shows a lot of how you're going to represent that brand. And I think that your Instagram is, you know, as much as people say do it for the gram, it is your most genuine self. It's the portfolio that is most genuine who you are.
Right.
Facts. I was shocked, guys. The reason I was shocked is because I kind of knew it, but I didn't want to hear it. I didn't want to hear Instagram as the way to actually be recognized and known and how you get certain deals. I didn't want to hear that I had to post pictures. You know what I mean? It's just like...
It's the best tool, it's the biggest tool, and it's not going
and I would
anywhere.
write the nicest email. And you know, like you would send that email out. The email doesn't work. It's almost like it just hits this nowhere spam folder. But if you post something on Instagram that has a little bit of shing and thing and all of that, and if I put the right hashtags, I'd be like, yo, is that Wendy's commenting under my post? Like, what the fuck is this? Like, Wendy's would never, ever talk to me,
For
right?
sure.
So I saw it, but I didn't want to believe it. And when you confirmed it, it's now like, all right, I got to go clout it up a bit.
Yeah.
But it's not clout.
It's not clout. I hate that word.
Yes.
I do.
Same here.
But Instagram, do it for the gram. It's selling yourself, you know. It's like a resume. How many of you guys have, you know, maybe pushed the needle of your resume to make it sound like your job was a little bit more exciting or leveled up more than it was?
And I'm actually
You know,
curious,
that
how much of you actually have...
proficient.
Exactly.
And I think that's important to figure out, like, how much of you in here actually have used, I would say now, antiquated marketing techniques to try to get somewhere and have had 0% luck? Like, pretty much, have you sent out an email? Have you done anything? And just like, yo, why isn't anybody responding? No feedback in that here?
Like a cold email to someone you don't know?
Well, pretty much is like, if you send out an email, right, to a potential person, you write up all of the key things that you think will make sense and all of that. Do you always get the feedback that you want?
Sometimes you don't get a response at all.
At all, right?
Yeah.
And what do you question about that? Like, do you question yourself?
Sometimes I go back and read my email to see if I structured it right, if I missed something, but more than likely just meant that it wasn't the right time for the connection to happen.
Or the right person didn't even see it?
Or they may have not seen it. That's also, you know, a possibility. It also doesn't hurt to circle back and just
follow up.
Yeah.
Right.
Follow up.
If you got a chance to check out my email, just wanted to touch base. I do that from time to time.
Because you're in sales, I know that.
Like, to piggyback on that, like, statistics have shown that it would take about 7 outreaches for someone to actually respond to an email.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So what I typically do then is I'll use that same thread and I'll keep replying to the same thread because it's more compelling, because it's showing like a story. It's like, I'm a man of my word. I'm following up on what I'm saying. I'm constantly following up.
So you hit reply to a message you did not get replied to.
Yeah.
Well, you do sales with what company?
I do sales with a company that works for government agencies. So essentially, like, I'm selling in a database software to different companies out there.
All right.
Nice.
I just
I know nothing about it, but that sounds good.
Like 100% agree. But it's also a 12% response rate. So you send out 100 emails with 7 strings to 18 strings.
Right.
Yep.
12 people respond.
For sure. I always tell any intern or coordinator underneath me, they can attest to it. Do I follow up again? It's the 4th time. Follow up. Follow up until you get an answer. Because 100%. For me, if they really don't want you emailing them again, they're going to say no. And if you don't get an answer of yes or no, you don't know if they got that email. I miss emails, you know, not all the time, but you know, your inbox will get overloaded with things, and those people that you're trying to attach to or you're trying to get a hold of, they may be busy, you know what I mean? They may get 100 emails a day. So you follow up until they have the audacity to say no. And
that's powerful. So those trying, and then also just assuming somebody's on maternity or paternity leave.
So tell me, say I'm on paternity leave, set your out of office, set your automatic reply, and tell me who to get in touch with.
Nah, I'm just gonna make that assumption they forgot, and I'm just gonna keep sending emails.
So would you say that DMs are more efficient than emails?
I would and I wouldn't, because I think DMs are very efficient. I found that lately DMs have been efficient when you use that app Clubhouse, and then you go into the DM, someone automatically kind of recognizes you. But if you hit someone in a DM and they don't know you, you're going into the general. And how often do you really check those requests or those generals? How often are you going to take time to see what someone's saying? And it goes back to the email of what Triz was saying. Maybe I missed something. Maybe
the subject.
Exactly.
Has to be
the subject. Sometimes my subject has nothing to do with what my email is, but I know that person's going to click on it.
We'll click it. Right. Yeah.
Oh, wow, so
And-
tactics, okay.
Yeah, tactics. Or don't be so descriptive in your first email. Open that up for a relationship. Open that up to build something genuine. Open that up so that they have to get on a phone with you.
And this is important because right now people can't technically be out networking in person. So these digital mediums, whatever we want to call them, for being able to purposefully connect with someone to get something done. I don't like people messaging me, hey, or whatever, like purposeful. You have to do it digitally.
Yep.
And you have to be effective at it digitally. Give me your one that I asked you this before. I'm going to ask you again. Top 3 ways of connections.
Top 3 ways of connections.
Digital.
Digital, email. Is a phone call digital?
I would say if you use voice over IP, but then I would say no at the same time. FaceTime would be digital. I don't know. So phone call. Just include phone.
A phone call.
Digital call.
Digital call.
Okay.
An email or a DM.
Or DM. All right.
Yeah.
And to add to that, just be repetitive with it. Don't
Consistency,
try once, try 2,
persistence.
try 3, try 4.
Yeah, until they say no. For me, I kind of think that if someone wants to partner with you or someone is trying to put something across your desk and you don't have the time, quote unquote, to say no, it's disrespectful.
Have the decency to say no, right?
Have the decency to say no.
I completely agree.
That's interesting.
Like, don't just ignore it, you know?
Yeah. I've had, like, times where my emails are ignored and then, I follow up with someone else to, like, see if they can ask. And they're like, oh, yeah, they said they saw the email. And they said no.
Oh.
I will automatically put that person in my black book. I don't care how high up you are in an organization or it's disrespectful because there are people out here working and grinding. And if you don't have 2 minutes or 30 seconds in your day to just say, hey, no, we're not interested.
Yeah, it's just
and obviously what you're reaching out to them for is for a mutual benefit.
Exactly.
Right? So if they don't see that and they ignore it, it's just rude.
It's rude.
I completely agree.
That's funny. So do you reach out to people? Because you work with a lot of big brands. Okay, you work with huge brands, right? So do you reach out? Do they reach out to you? What does that look like?
Over the years, a lot of brands have reached out to me, big and small.
Yeah.
A lot more small that actually come reach out to me. But when it comes to the bigger brands that I've solidified relationships with, they were more so like I was connected through somebody, a mutual person that introduced me to them, right?
Okay.
And they said, this is someone you need to know. And then from there, we exchanged contacts, and I would reach out to them to follow up, because they're not going to reach out to me and say, hey, I met you the other night. I'm going to reach out to them and say, hey, I met you the other night. It was great meeting you. Let's set up a meeting. And then I would then go prepare a deck. For them to see what their ROI is going to be.
You prepare a deck.
Yes, I prepare a deck.
What is a deck?
Digital deck. A deck is almost like a portfolio that you can put together, very clear and concise.
Yep.
Something that would show. I put a lot of images in my decks too, just so they have a visual.
Images of what? Like I'm learning right now.
Okay, so let's say, for example, my partnership with Remy Martin. When I sat down with them, I showed them my deck, and with the deck I created this thing where it showed people at a party, and they have Remy, some celebrities. I took some photos off Google, and I incorporated it into the deck, and I showed what it is that we're doing, the events that I have, the series is that I would curate, and how we would put product placement in there, and how their sales are going to increase because of the following and the fact that combined we can promote these events to over 100,000 people. So I make it very clear what they're gonna get, what we want, and what they're gonna get, and then
for sure
the plus with sitting down with the people at Remy. I initially was introduced to a guy who's kind of on the higher up, but he set up the meeting with 2 women who are just as important, and they have a good position over there. So sitting down with them and showing them the deck and explaining to them how we can both benefit each other.
For sure.
And my events will really push sales like crazy, and we'll do product placement out the ass. They loved the fact that I was a woman. It almost just fell back down to the fact that we love you. right? And they're like, we love the fact that you're a woman and you're pushing boundaries and you're going against the grain, and we love what you're doing. We love what your company represents.
Oh man, you're saying too much, because I have a question right now. Like, don't say all of this, because I'll forget.
But that's, I mean, that's what happened, you know, when I reached out, and that's how it ended up, you know.
But that's a genuine
But you see
relationship.
how much work that she put in, though. Like a
But
deck.
that's what happens.
Like even people don't make decks.
No, you want to come work with me? You'll be making decks. You can ask anyone that works. You'll be doing them every day.
And so people at home need to know this. People who are literally trying to be entrepreneurs need to know this, because everyone also comes to me.
Visual.
I did PowerPoints and PDFs and all types of stuff in my first barbershop. You ask somebody to do something these days and they just wanted you to just put it in their hands, right? They're like, oh, yeah, let me get this and let me get that. And I'm like, brother, do you know how much work goes into a certain position? Not even to me. Having a certain position. You cannot be telling me that you're waking up 10 o'clock and going to bed at what, 3 o'clock playing video games. You haven't touched anything. You didn't research anything. You didn't put different ideas into place. What I heard from you is you sat down and you thought about all of the things that would be beneficial for you, and also all the things that would be beneficial for your partner. And the key word is partner.
Course.
Because if you don't bring something beneficial where I also win from it, then you're an opportunist. And this is an opportunist proposal.
It's transactional.
Right? I need to know what I'm getting, what you're getting, how long this is going to take. Do I have to talk to you for 15 minutes or for 10 minutes? And I can respond to that.
Right.
In my position now, and I'm not nowhere, I'm still a baby. Like, if someone sends me a message and I have to respond back with the hey and the how you doing and the back and forth, and it's not a personal thing, I know it's something for business, it's kind of a waste of time.
No.
You gotta put all of what you put into that deck and present yourself properly. Like, present yourself
it's very,
properly.
very clear, like I said, clear and concise. There are certain sections where it says what we want.
Yeah.
And then it says, you know,
what you will get.
Like what we want, money, and then the next page is what you get. Right? So very clear. But to be honest, there are a lot of people who are so busy that they literally skim through it. So you have to make sure
it still
that
has to be there. I need to see those titles.
it needs to like stand out. The imagery needs to be on point. Not so much text. Very little.
Very little. That's actually a really good point.
Yes.
And like, anytime you should be pitching, you have to think about the person on the other side and make it the easiest experience for them possible.
Absolutely.
Speak in just maybe 3 sentences, hyperlink where you want them to click, give them the details, very direct, because the average person will spend 45 seconds on your email and they will move on.
Yep, exactly. So
45
make
seconds.
it stand out.
Yeah.
I mean, it may seem like a lot. But it's not a lot of time at all. Like, wow. Okay, so that actually is, I'm going to take that away. I'm going to think about 45 seconds when I actually make proposals and stuff too, like, because that's important.
I have something to add for what Kat was saying. What Kat's saying with the decks, that is something that is super important as an entrepreneur. Visual learning for the person on the other side. We create decks in terms of all of our creatives, and we include all analytics that need to be put into there. And that just makes for less question. That makes for them to get intrigued by the small pitch that you put forward. But if they want more, they can just click on that deck and go through it. So by the time you're ready for that phone call or that, you know, that next step, you've covered your basis.
You have the information.
So the outward appearance of networking should seem almost like more beneficial for the person you're networking with.
Of course.
Meaning, if I am going, let's just start back and say, you know what, I'm going to go to a networking event that's with brands. I want to partner with a brand to wear their sneakers, to promote their sneakers or something. I should not be wearing something that's not associated with that brand.
Definitely not.
Right? I should not be talking about myself much. I should be talking about them much to show that I've done research into their brand and that I actually am interested. Is that right?
I think it should be a 50-50.
50-50?
You should be talking about them so that they know that you're knowledgeable about what they stand for, and comparing it with what you stand for, and making that connection between you and the brand, and that you guys mutually stand for the same thing.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And I think that's effective. And what else would I be trying to push outwards besides just my phone number and email address?
Your image,
my
your
image,
beliefs.
my beliefs.
How you place the product.
How you place the product.
Right? The good thing with me is with events, people buy those bottles, like specifically with liquor sponsors, right? They buy those bottles. So if you get images of that and their products in there and they see that there's celebrities there and we're serving it to them and all that type of stuff, they love that. So ideally you want to put those images in there and let them see how their brand is completely on the forefront
Yeah.
in our events, you know.
There's nothing worse than having to get a sponsor and send them photos and they have 5 product shots, you know?
I would like 1800 to kind of work with me, which is why I put that bottle right in the center.
I love 1800 tequila.
Right? And I think I'm doing a good job of product placement with that bottle.
It's amazing.
Yes,
it's great.
Okay, can you make that connection happen?
We can.
I'm actually an ambassador
Yeah.
for 1800.
Don't lie.
No, I'm not lying.
Okay, so
I sponsored.
so Kat, that bottle's at half right now. That's all I'm gonna say.
We need to replenish. I know exactly who to head up, but this is perfect placement for them to see that, you know, they are appreciated and they're liked.
Yep.
Like, we're not going to put a product up there that we actually despise and makes us want to get, you know.
Yeah.
We're both drinking it.
Yeah, we're both drinking
So it's actually
it.
good that it's a half full bottle, not a full bottle. I'm glad, because I was like, the bottle should be full, but now we're drinking it. All right, Ben.
Yes, I actually need a refill shortly. So.
Soon come.
No, it's okay. I can do that.
But yeah, if you guys sip away. But that's cool that you mentioned all that. I didn't want to cut you off, but I did hear a lot of breaking barriers when it comes to females. Do you think that guy intentionally set up a meeting with 2 females for you? Just curiosity. Do you think it would be like more effective networking for that?
He could have. I think he was more busy than anything because he came afterward.
Okay.
But I think he could have set it up because, they were more of the people that I needed to be dealing with in the first place, because he was probably more on the corporate end, like more international. So what he did setting it up, I'm sure it's just because he was busy and everything, but it made sense at the end of the day. It really worked out in my favor.
I would say so.
Because I still have that
Everything for a reason
right now. Yeah, and it's not even like, it's not even about being so formal in an email and stuff. Like, I text her, I call her. We have a really great working relationship. We talk. There's curse words in the text and like things like that. Very cool. And she's a young girl, so it's like, wow, this is ideal. It's perfect. And anything that I need, anything that I have any requests for, I literally hit her up on a text or DM or however way I want to reach out, and it worked out perfectly. So we built that relationship. Right?
Got it.
It would have been really sucky if I'm dealing with someone in the office, corporate, and I'm constantly sending emails trying to give an answer.
Yep, very
It's not one
transactional.
of those. It's a really it's a great working relationship, and we're cool. So I love that. She's a woman. To be honest.
Do you think, like, for you, is your story equally as digestible from men and from women? Like, when you're pitching something or whatever, you get the same response as a woman?
From a man?
As you get from a woman, yes. Because you have interactions with women,
yes.
telling them your story, telling them what you're about, what you need from them.
Right.
You do the same thing with a guy. Is it equal? Is that whole interaction?
No.
I do get a good response, right? Like, I do get a good response because of, I don't know, I want to say how I would pitch it. It's going to be like, it would resonate regardless, right, with a man. But with women, there's a different thing to it where I think they appreciate it more because they know how hard I've worked. And every woman that I've talked to that has a really high position in a certain business, there's a certain chip on their shoulder, because they've been going against the grain and trying to get there, and then to see another woman that's really trying to get there too and has that same ambition, I think it hits different.
And they're appreciative of it.
They're appreciative of it. And not to say that that men wouldn't take that in too.
Yeah, of course.
I could see a man taking it in like, wow, you actually, you take these things in. So I can't say that all men wouldn't take it in, but I'm sure with women, it's like a different connection.
For sure.
Yeah.
We can put each other in each other's shoes, I think, a lot simpler than a man can put himself in our shoes,
Yes.
vice versa. Right?
Do you think that there's when you work, and I know men can be men. Here I am, right? Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Do you think that there's like a forward thought for a man, like when he's meeting you and you're talking before what you're actually saying? Have you ever experienced any like brother, focus on what I'm actually saying type of moments?
I wouldn't say so much in the PR industry. Shout out the PR industry for all the women that work in that industry. But I would say so in the music industry, yes. There is definitely a line of, I would say, instead of the instant respect, it takes a couple days.
Close it too tight.
This guy tried to... So, but it's not been too toxic, you would say?
You talked about the power and the positive aspects of a woman being able to deal with
Is it advantageous or is it more of a disadvantage? And if it's 50, if it's a split, what's the split? And I want to know.
I think it's an advantage to be a female in the industry. We are more patient.
In your industry or industries?
In the music industry, I want to say that it's a positive in a sense of like, it's going to take a little bit longer, but we're going to get that job done and we're going to get to that place that we want to be in.
Okay.
And however,
there's a lot of that, like, if you do me a favor, then I can help you get to a certain level.
Yeah.
Which is where you're talking about forward thought, like that. They really have one thing on their minds.
Your industries are misogynist. I won't lie.
yeah, it's kind of like misogynist and everyone for themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's where, Kat and I both are saying, it's time for women to kind of team up together because the men always team up together. Why can't the women?
Right.
We're
always looking for opportunity from the men, and then sometimes that can backfire in terms of like, well, what are you going to do for me? And I think that's a very,
and
very
the answer is never like pay you. That's not like like here's the money for what you did for me. They want more. They want something else.
No more. Like I'm talking, I'm sure I'm talking for multiple industries where it's like they find you attractive and they want more from you, favors where they can reciprocate that in a monetizing way.
For sure.
You know what I'm saying? Like, and I've seen it all.
Or make you wait for that, what you're looking for. They'll make you wait that extra mile because, they have a different agenda with you. You know what I mean? Let me see if I can get this girl, or let me see what else can come out of this relationship.
And then if you decline, then you get disrespected at that point. You are almost like discharged, or like you just don't exist. You can't do nothing for them, then they won't do anything for you. And that really has happened
for sure.
So many women. It's happened to me.
It's happened to me.
It's happened to you. So unfortunately, that is a reality that we've had to face as women, and that's probably one of the things that, like, why women have a chip on their shoulder with certain things, or why we're always so like.
It's like it's a half of a wall up. It's just like, just in case you try to think I was this person, this is the wall, right?
Yeah, for sure. And like, don't get me wrong, I've had, we both were discussing, we've had male mentors and still do. And
my biggest idols are men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's just, we're not saying that all men are like that, but we have been put in that situation before.
Right.
And I think that the strength of a woman is, there's been situations that I didn't think that was going to be what it was. And now I'm here. What do I do? And I think that those are the advantages for a woman. You thought that you were going to corner me in this situation.
Right.
You thought that you were putting work in front of my face to get me to where you have me now. And I think women are a little bit more patient strategic. We have a really good intuition. And I hate this word, but one of our strongest suits is being a little bit more manipulative. And I think that is what gets women like Kat and I through such a misogynistic industry.
So I commend, right? Because at the end of the day, it's still logic. It's all mathematics to me. You see some things. This is left, this is right. You navigate, you do what's best for you. Your morals, your principles are aligned. And to be honest, men face the same thing. And I want that to be clear. As human in general, sex independent, you have to be a logical thinker. You have to understand the field that you're playing in. Either choose to play or don't play at all, right? So it's and I commend you guys for understanding the game that you're playing or the game that you're in and figuring out, how do I actually respect myself? I know what are some things that can happen. This is what I'm going to do. And I'm still going to be successful. Because a lot of people will run out. Like, I used to be very dismissive. If I don't tolerate something, I'm out. Or if I don't tolerate someone, they're out. And it's a very, very clear and simple line for me. But to be able to navigate, have an issue, have a conflict, go home and think about, okay, how am I going to not just run away from this or like push someone away, but how am I actually going to combat this logically and successfully? That is a challenge. For entrepreneurs, that is a challenge to be okay. You're not going against, if you want to play against people in your league, that's great, right? You can be a $20,000, $30,000 a year entrepreneur. You can be because I don't want y'all to